Hey internet, so today I thought I would go through some of my favorite travel beauty products, and then I would also go through a bunch of tips I have for traveling and skincare related stuff, because I'm actually in the middle of packing for a trip right now, and I feel like the last few years of my life has been a lot of travel, whether that be for work or holiday, but it's always balancing a fine line between making sure I look good either for the office or for photos on my holiday, and then taking care of my skin because I lose that sort of routine and consistency. So I thought this would just be a fun thing to cover since I'm in the middle of it. One of the first things I always make sure I take with me is sunscreen. And to me, there's two types of sunscreen. There's the sunscreen for your face and there's a sunscreen for your body. I feel like this goes without saying, even if you're not traveling to a tropical place, I mean, even for work, I'm usually always in a suit, but I would still always wear sunscreen no matter where I go. It's just so important. I have two favorites that I like to mention. You guys have seen this one. It is the Biore UV Ultra Rich. This is for my face. I use this every single day, and I've been using this every single day for probably the last 4 to 5 years. I've gone through so many bottles of this, so it really just goes without saying, protect your face, really important. The other one I recommend, which I actually don't have on me right now, I think I've already packed it somewhere, but it's the Neutrogena sunscreen. In America, you can get the SPF 100, and I think in Australia it's more the 50, SPF 50, but it's pretty much the same range. I really like it because it doesn't feel very greasy on the skin. I don't think there's a huge difference between SPF 50 and SPF 100 in terms of protection. As the number increases, the benefits don't really grow linear to that, so I think if you're an SPF 50, that's totally fine. That's the one I usually use, but when I go to America, I like to pick up the 100 because it's kind of like a novelty. The next product I would highly recommend, and you cannot even see this because I've used this almost up, is it's almost gone. This is eye primer. I mean, really any eye primer would work, and I know some people can go without eye primers. I don't know how you do it, man. I do not know, because my eyeshadow creases so quickly if I do not have eye primer. So any sort of eye primer is completely necessary. I just feel like it's so fundamental to applying eyeshadow, and sometimes I even want to go for the no eyeshadow look and I still need it, because if I wear liner, it just transfers to my lids. So I need this regardless of whether I'm planning to have a full-blown eyeshadow look or not. This next product is going to be a general category. I mean, even though I love this particular one, this is the Clinique Chubby Sticks. I'm using my favorite shade right now is the Curviest Caramel, which is the one I'm currently wearing. But really what I'm looking for is really a lip color that is moisturizing and doesn't rub off too easily. And I feel like this kind of hits those buckets. I still haven't tried a lot of the liquid lipsticks, which I've been told work a treat, but I find that some of those are actually quite drying. So I really love this because when you're traveling, you've got dry skin, you're not feeling great. So I love that it is moisturizing, it is pigmented, and I can still eat, I can drink. It's not as like permanent as most liquid lipsticks, but it stays on for the most part, and it means I don't have to be reapplying every single time I eat something. It kind of ticks all those boxes, not solidly, but pretty well, and I think that's just such a good thing about traveling. You don't want to have to worry about that sort of stuff. I also highly recommend that you get a powder compact, and it doesn't have to be foundation powder. It could be just normal face powder, but I recommend that you get this. Looks gross. This is like because I've used it, so it's all kind of used up, but I highly recommend you get one with a mirror. I think having a mirror just makes it so much easier when you travel, especially when you're out and say your makeup starts to crease, or I don't know, something goes wrong, because something always goes wrong. Then at least you can fix that up. You can see yourself, because I feel like when I'm out, I always think, oh, I've got my lipstick, I've got my mascara, it's all great. Oh, I don't have a mirror. So I end up using my phone, and it's just not the same as using a mirror. So I would recommend trying to bring a mirror, and I may as well double it up with a powder foundation, which is what this is. I actually prefer using a powder foundation because I feel like it gives me some level of control. I don't have to add a ton of coverage if I don't need to, because then I can just lightly dust it on. But if I do want that extra coverage, then I've got that right there. And the last product I have is translucent powder. Any translucent powder. I just happen to have MAC that just happened to be in my collection. That's the one I use. But I mostly use translucent powder now for baking. Baking is so great if you're out for the whole day and you want to make sure your makeup doesn't crease at all. I highly recommend it. You will not regret it. If you YouTube this, you'll probably find like a million makeup tutorials on how to bake, so I'm not going to go into too much depth, but basically it's this concept where you just put on a lot of this powder to let your makeup really set, so then during the day it doesn't crease. It actually really works for me. I noticed that by the end of the day my makeup that usually creases didn't crease at all. It's phenomenal. So I do highly recommend give it a shot. Maybe don't try it on the first day of your trip. Try it when you're still at home and see if you like it, because this is quite a big pot of powder to carry. And if you're like me and like to travel really light, then I don't know, like I wouldn't have the space for something like this normally, but I'd make the exception if I knew I was going to somewhere really tropical or someplace I knew where my makeup was likely to crease. Okay, so those are all the products I wanted to show you guys, but I actually wanted to go through tips regarding travel that don't really have to do with specific products, but just general things to look out for. The first one is obviously plan ahead in terms of getting smaller versions of everything you use, but be careful about depotting. I know if you go to like Priceline and stuff, they give you little containers so you can depot into little ones. There are some products you really shouldn't be depotting, stuff that once exposed to light or air doesn't work as well, especially stuff with active ingredients in them. I would just bring the actual bottle, or I would try and go to the company and see if you can get samples or whether they sell them in smaller bottles. So some things I just wouldn't repackage them. Stuff like my eye cream, stuff like sunscreen, all that sort of stuff, I just wouldn't repackage that because I'm just maybe a little bit paranoid, but I'm just worried about that stuff no longer being good or working once I've repackaged it. And this happened with me with foundation. I was using the Dior Forever foundation. I repackaged it into like a little tub, thought it was great. And then by the time I got to, I think this was Europe, I tried to use it and it had all oxidized. So it was like 2-3 shades darker than what it was normally when I use it. So I couldn't use that anymore and I was completely without foundation on. But yeah, so I would consider those sort of things. Some things can be repackaged, maybe like hand cream, but a lot of things probably shouldn't. So I would just get a smaller version of it if you can. The other is, can you use any of your face powders as your eyeshadows? So for example, bronzers work great as crease colors in some instances. I guess it depends what bronzer you're using, but generally I find that to be the case. A lot of the face highlighters work great as eyeshadow highlighters or general wash of color on the eyelids. So I feel like in some cases I probably don't even need to bring an eyeshadow palette. I can get away by using a lot of the face products I have, and that just saves some space. So I know there's a lot of makeup bags that allow you to put your bathroom products, your hair products, your makeup products all together. I recommend separating them all just because I feel like they're easier to grab and it's easier to kind of get ready in the morning. So I have a separate bag for all the products I use specifically in the bathroom. And so when I get to the hotel, I usually put that straight in the bathroom. And then I have one for skincare. So I'll put that in one bag, and then I have another bag for makeup. So it's kind of like I have stations that I move across to. So in the morning I wake up, go to the bathroom, use all my products, can throw it back in the bag so I don't have everything lying about, especially if I'm sharing with other people. Then I go do my skincare, and I like to separate my day skincare and my night skincare, so that's really easy to get to, very quick, throw it back in the bag, and then makeup and done. So I'm not rummaging through a huge bag of different products. Everything has its own category, and so it's just really easy to bang, bang, bang and shoot through it. And the last one is for people who probably overpack for makeup. The best way to do it, I find, is when you're getting ready in the morning, one of the mornings at home, put all the products you're actually using into a makeup bag so you know exactly what products you need to use, and then just take that makeup bag when you travel. You don't need to be bringing a whole bunch of extra stuff because you have exactly what you would use on the daily with you. So that's all my tips. Those are all my products. I am going to go back to packing. I really hope you found this video interesting, and let me know what other tips and tricks you have because I'm always learning. This is Celina reporting from my room. Back to you, internet.